Changes come. Keep your dignity. Take the high road.
Hey, welcome everybody.
Like a man.
Okay, no time. Hey, what's up? Welcome to Wagyu Works. This is the second part of my interview with Tayler on the teachers unions in LA, on the futures of your children, on the communist corruption going on within the school district, within the union, which I'm led to understand are basically the same thing at this point. Jane, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. So let's get started. I want to just jump right into it, as they say. Last time we spent a lot of time on the curriculum and the stuff that's being taught, and this time we're going to basically just be diving into the teachers unions on the severely unfair treatment of teachers there, on the basically the overlooking of the of any kind of success of teachers, maybe even phasing them out. We're also going to be talking about how none of this is really benefiting children in any meaningful way, and it's essentially all kind of a socialist push, kind of a Marxist uprising within these teachers unions. So let's just take it away, Jane.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So we'll talk about the UTLA, the Los Angeles Teachers Union. Just as an introduction, for 10 years, I paid into the union dues every month, $100, and I was under the impression that I was a part of the union. But one day in 2008 was the last time before 2019 that we actually got a raise. So it needed to go to a vote, and I was at a meeting, and they asked if I was a union member, and I said, oh, of course. And they said, really, how do you know? And I said, well, I've paid into the union dues for over 10 years now. And they're like, well, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a member. And I wasn't. So for 2 years ago, this became illegal. So now, in the old days, if you just became a teacher or a substitute teacher with LAUSD, you automatically paid union dues, whether you were a member or not, and nobody really told you about it. Now, they give you an option. But from what I've heard about the numbers, many people are deciding to pay dues and be in the union, and I'm sure there's something that's incentivizing that.
Do you know why it was legal before that? Do you have any idea, or maybe what it was, the impetus for it becoming illegal? Was it just a bunch of people complaining? What made it happen?
I don't know what made it happen, but I think because you are supposed to know if you're paying dues, if you're paying into a union, then they should be transparent about whether you are a member or not.
Right, because they're taking money out of your check, but you're not getting the protections that a union is supposed to offer. Correct.
That's
so
right.
You're basically just giving them free money, which is what socialists are all about at the end of the day.
And at $1,200 a year, with the numbers are low now, but 2,700 teachers, that's $32,400,000 a year that the union is getting, whether you belong to the union or not, to do what they do with. And they're basically supposed to be protecting teachers' salaries and making sure that we have good working conditions. But it's become more and more clear to me over the last couple of years that that's no longer what they're really about. So I shared a story with you before, and I wanted to mention it. So one of the things is that if something happens and you have to go to court, the teachers union are supposed to be there with lawyers to protect you and stand up for you and see that you're treated fairly.
Right.
So a friend of mine was a union rep, someone who really was into it, would fly to DC all the time to look
just
at
for a second, would you mind explaining what does a union rep do, just for people who
Oh.
don't know? I don't know.
Sure. A union rep is someone who kind of goes to meetings and helps disseminate information from what's going on with the union to the actual teachers in the classroom.
Okay.
So every week after we have our little teachers meeting, the union rep, admin have to leave, and then the union rep will let us know, they're kind of threatening to take away your insurance, or we're working on protecting you from, not having any other funds taken away or things like this. We don't want pink slips to happen. So sometimes they threaten pink slips, which are if numbers in the school district go down, certain teachers might be riffed or told they don't have a job if there's no jobs for them.
Wow.
So
Okay.
they're there to kind of inform us about what's going on. And so they spend extra time to be in the know about that and then tell the regular teachers about what's going on.
All right. Sounds good.
Right? So this person, being quite a public figure, receives emails from people that he doesn't necessarily know often. He received an email and opened it in school on one of the school computers, and it had an illustration, an image, that could have been construed as child porn.
Wow.
Yeah. So within like a day, school police come to the campus, handcuff him in front of his students, take all of the technology out of the classroom, and at the same time, they busted in his apartment. His girlfriend was sleeping in bed, and they took all technology there, including her cameras, and she's a professional photographer. Took several of her cameras, and they kept everything for 6 months until it went to trial. When it did go to trial, it was absolutely clearly proven that there was not one shred of evidence that he had any child porn, that he had looked at any sites or had anything else that would match or corroborate or show that he had anything to do with child porn. And so the charges were dropped. The whole time he was in what's called teacher's jail. So they don't fire you, but you have to go to the district offices and sit for 8 hours a day in basically a classroom, and then you make your salary. And that makes sense while someone's.
Well, what's going on in those classrooms? Is it like so if it was a teacher that got put in teacher's jail for being angry, would it be anger management for that teacher? Would it be like don't do child porn for that kind of teacher? Or because like you're telling me the story and I go good. Good. I'm glad that happened to him. I want a lot worse to happen to him.
Remove them from the classroom.
Then it turns out that he wasn't actually guilty, which is a whole other huge problem.
I wish they were doing that. That would have been amazing. But actually, no, they're just sitting in a classroom for 8 hours doing nothing. So they're not giving them any kind of help or addressing the issue. They're just making sure that they're sitting in a classroom and not doing anything for 8 hours a day.
Okay.
So then he was really excited to get back to work, but LAUSD, whoever the superintendent was at the time, decided no. They don't want to take the chance. If anyone has even been accused of anything to do with, mistreating a child in any way, then he wouldn't let him back in the classroom. So it basically ruined his career, something he'd been doing for over 20 years. And the only way that he could be a teacher would be to move out of LAUSD, meaning to sell his home and absolutely relocate to a different place, which wasn't really an option for him. So it took away his pension. It took away everything.
Well, and so you've also kind of mentioned to me that you think this may have been a setup. You think this all might have been for a reason.
Well, the interesting thing is, the more I thought about telling the story, the more I thought about why, how did this happen, and why did it happen to him? And it's interesting that he was very active in the legislation going on. So more than most, he was really on the inside of understanding what legislation was being passed, who was behind it, what the motives were, and things like that.
Okay.
So since nothing else was found, this is only a suspicion, and it's only something I just recently came to, but how easy would it have been for someone who thought he was too nosy or knew too much to literally just send one inappropriate image
And ruin the guy's life.
and ruin his teaching career?
Wow. And take away his pension, which I think is really damaging. You see that with police unions a lot too. That's why cops are so. And I know this is a little bit of a tangent, but this is why cops are so afraid to do their jobs now, because they're, you know, they've applied for a job. They're working for a thing that's incredibly dangerous, which I think it's probably pretty dangerous to be a teacher, depending on where you work as well. And you're not making very much money, but you're looking forward to this pension, to being able to retire, to be able to have a future after your job, and then to have somebody just take that away for, like you said, it's just a suspicion. Who knows exactly what happened? But for something that may not, that obviously they never even found, they never found any proof of anything, but they never reinstated him. They never gave him his pension back. That was it. That's all she wrote.
Yeah. And so for all he gave to the teachers union, where were they for him?
Right.
They were not there.
Mm.
Sounds like a setup.
Sounds
like a setup to me.
Sounds like it to me too.
Kind of seems fishy.
Yeah.
So then we get into, now we're going to dive into the teacher strike. So this is, Dick, slide number 3, please.
Oh, hold on.
It's okay. There we go. It's the UTLA one. Oh, no, you were right.
There we go. Sorry,
it was
it's
the
auto
wiki
scrolling.
one. Hey, I love them all.
There we go.
Ah.
UTLA one, can we go to the next one, please, Dick?
And there
Can we go to, oh, there we go.
There we go.
So the 2019 teacher strike was the first strike in LAUSD in 30 years, which says a lot. So for 30 years, the district and the union, who I actually believe are in bed together and are not separate entities at all, they found ways to work out the problems, whether it was teachers complaining about pay or, you know, class size reductions and all of this. Nobody needed to strike for 30 years. Suddenly we needed to strike.
Mm-hmm.
And it was...
And I'm sure there was no reason for a strike at all within those 30 years. Everything was perfectly sunny, perfectly fantastic those entire 30 years. No reason for anybody to be upset that entire time.
Well, they would threaten strikes. Like in 2008, when I learned that I wasn't a member of the union was threatening to strike, but then everybody voted and things calmed down and we got a little raise and the, you know, feathers were unruffled. And that's
Okay.
what will happen is they'll kind of threaten a strike, but then people will vote and stuff.
It's
will
the
get
nuclear
settled.
option. Okay, fair enough. All right.
So, and then I wanted to point out that once the union does decide that we are striking, if you do not, you're given the option. You're told that you could strike or you could not strike, but it is not an option. If you do not strike, you are labeled a scab, and you will never live that reputation down. It will haunt you, and people will label you and ostracize you. If you want to move to a better school, forget it. If it is learned that you sat out of a strike at any time, you won't move. You won't make any kind of
yeah,
upward
God
move.
forbid you work and
Right.
need to work and
Exactly.
need to keep making your wage.
Well,
whatever.
and that's another point too. Is I don't know if people know this or not. I mean, I didn't know this. I just never really gave it any thought. But when you strike, guess what? You don't get paid. You're not getting paid when you're striking.
That is
So
right.
You're out on the street doing your thing, and you're not making any money. And this is
Right.
all supposed to be under the guise of making conditions better for teachers and for kids. But it
That's
turns
right.
out that's not actually the case.
It's not the case at all. So we were told there was a strike coming, and we all got prepared for it. Ironically, it never rains in Los Angeles. If it rains here, it rains for a couple of hours, and it's gone. It rained for 4 days, right when we struck. I swear someone arranged that. So also the interesting thing is, for 4 days, we marched in the rain before the district and UTLA decided to sit down and talk about the problems and issues and get things ironed out, which is bizarre. Why make us walk for 4 days before even sitting down to talk about it?
Right.
So what was on the table was a raise. We wanted a 10% raise because inflation had gone up 24% in the last.
And how long had it been since you had a raise before this?
It was 2008, so it was at 11 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's funny you say, it's strange that you did that for 4 days without anybody actually talking to anybody. And I mentioned to you that I think that's actually because you're trying to get public sympathy.
Yes.
It's another one of these, this whole Marxist idea of the working class. It's a class struggle issue. You want to get
Yes.
public sympathy for the teachers so that the unions, who are the brave representatives of the proletariat, has the same sympathy that the teachers do. You're basically puppets marching in the rain for their narrative. At that point.
100%. Yep. And it did, in a sense, unify us. Teachers are all off in their own classrooms, off in separate districts. We meet for 2 hours, but those meetings are always pushed and mandated, and there's a lot of training going on. So as far as feeling like we're really some kind of unified group of people, that doesn't happen. So it did make us feel powerful and like we were affecting change. And even the rain, we all felt like, yeah, bring the rain, because this shows we're really serious and we really care about our students.
I bet they were behind the rain, too.
That's right.
They were.
was all
Somebody
planned.
created that. The union was in on the rain. Buettner was threatening to make teachers stay every day till 4:30. We have to stay. We're on campus for 6 hours. It's assumed that we work 2 other hours in grading and planning and things like that. And I have to say, one of the great things I love about being a teacher is I can do some of that from my couch.
Right.
I get home, I grade my papers, I can relax, I can do it as I want, I can take a break, work till 9 o'clock. I can do it on my own time. So one of the threats were that we were not going to be released from the classroom until 4:30 every day, and that he wanted to break up the districts. Which I thought was great because LAUSD is so huge, and I've always thought that's one of the problems. But the union let us know that was a really bad thing, that if they broke up the districts, then they would have more control over us.
And you're saying that them saying you'd have to stay till 4:30 and the other kind of threats they were making, that was to get you to strike in the first place?
Yeah, that's
that
the
was the
school
leverage.
district. So that's
Okay.
the union saying the district wants you to stay till 4:30, and they don't want to give you a raise at all.
Okay.
And so we're like, oh my gosh.
And I
they
will
don't-
mention, this just came to my mind, that you have union reps. You're not actually there in these meetings, so you don't know if this stuff is actually being said or not. You're just hearing from people who work for the union that the big bad school district or whatever, who happens to be essentially the teachers union at the end of the day, is threatening all this stuff to get you to go out in the street and put on a show.
Yes.
Okay.
And to be honest, I don't think the union reps are in on, I think they're fed a narrative.
Okay.
But that's my own. And when we go on in some other things that I have to share later, we'll kind of speak to that.
Great.
So they finally talked. We struck for 7 days, and it was over a holiday. The way they arranged it, they didn't start talking till Friday. Monday was a holiday, so that's more pay out of our checks. When they finally, came down to the settlement, teachers didn't have to stay for the extra hours a day. We got a 6% raise instead of a 10% raise. And for elementary school, that was it. We didn't get any more counselors, we didn't get any librarians, and we did not get a class size reduction. We got a 6% raise, period, for marching in the rain for 4 days and 3 more days. So 7 whole days of our time and money. In high schools, they got a few more counselors, but not anywhere near enough to meet the need. And they got a few more librarians, same. And then they were promised that class sizes would be reduced by 1 student a year for the next 4 years, which is
Not helpful.
no,
Right.
not helpful for 4 years.
Right.
Really.
Yeah.
They needed to come off right away. Okay. So the union rep, of course, is dancing about how much of a win this was and how we should be so happy. And right afterwards, we were asked in a meeting to donate to the campaign of one of the union reps who is running for the board.
Because of their
for this-
tremendous win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were like, wait a minute, didn't we just pay all this money? So yeah, I paid $400. Everyone, I think people who have different salaries pay a different amount. But I started paying the very next month, $400 a month out of my paycheck for 6 months. And then in July, they gave us the retro raise, which it wasn't retro. It was right back to when we started the strike. And that was pretty much what I had paid the 6 months. So they very cleverly made us pay for the 3% retro by striking for 7 days.
And then reimbursed you for your time. Right.
Sounds like a good racket. I want to get into
Yeah.
unions.
At this point, I'm wondering why even be in a union at the end of the day, but I mean, that's my opinion, so.
Okay, so then they wanted us to donate more money so this union rep could get on the school board.
Okay.
And they're like, come on, it's a political campaign. They need money. And we kind of asked, why do we want a union rep on the school board? And they said, oh, because then your voice will be heard more. And we'll have a majority of union representatives on the 7-member school board, and then that will be better for you. Just give more money. Also, they asked, what do you think about us endorsing Bernie Sanders as the presidential candidate?
Ooh.
To which
Okay.
we were like, what?
And so, just correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't teachers' unions supposed to be apolitical?
Well, it's interesting. You asked me this question before. Teachers are supposed to be apolitical, or at least neutrally political, like within the classroom. I can't march in there and say, you should vote for Trump, or being a conservative is better than being a liberal, or anything like that. If
Yeah, but
anything,
the union
we should
knows
be
best,
offering both
right?
sides.
Big brother
So-
knows best.
Yeah. So we're supposed to be politically neutral. However, and we're not going to get into this tonight because it's a whole other episode, they've been shoving the Black Lives Matter, lesson plans and all of the 1619 Project and everything.
Yeah.
They want us to teach that in the classroom as low as kindergarten.
Oh my God.
But how is that politically neutral? That is really messed up. But
Well, I think their version of events would be, well, no, it's not political at all. It's social. It's saying that racism is bad, that America's founding was bad, that our history is bad, and we should all come together as a people and kind of all believe that so we can unify. But the problem is it is overtly political because there's a large swath of the country. I would say a larger swath than that believe the 1619 Project is real. And Hannah, what's her name? Hannah, the person who wrote the 1619 Project had to come out and say, this is not actually supposed to be historical after she got a lot of flack. But it is overtly political, and I just don't know why they can keep getting away with this stuff because it's damaging to the unity of the country.
it really is. I totally agree with you. And I'm shocked. And I'm also very cautious. So hence the disguising of my, face and such.
Yep.
The district is so bent towards socialism that I feel like if I speak up, even to my friends and colleagues, who knows what could get around and who knows what kind of pink slip could happen or what could happen to me.
I thought you were just shy in front of the camera. That's all.
I thought you had vicious knife fight scars.
Ooh, yeah.
Now I'd kind of be proud of those.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Okay. So just to clarify.
All right.
All right. So moving now, I didn't know this at the time, but the person who was responsible for the strike was the then vice president of the UTLA, Cecily Meyer Cruz. So I didn't know that. I didn't really know her or that she was responsible for it, but I guess she'd been working on it for a long time.
And who's that?
Okay, so now we're going to move. I want to hear you, Nick.
Huh?
I want
What?
to hear you, Dick, but I can't hear it
Oh, I
very
was saying,
well.
who's that?
Oh, he was just asking who that was.
Cecily Meyer Cruz. Well, we're going to find out in just a second because
You guys are gonna love this. You got to stay tuned for this.
Yeah, a video is worth a novel. And
Absolutely.
she's about
Sorry, I'll
to
lean
say
in.
more than I
For
could
some
say
reason,
about her.
Skype is only picking up this microphone, so I'll lean in when I go to chime in.
Perfect. That's so much better. So, but first, before we get to her reveal, if, Dick, we could go to slide 6.
6. Okay.
This is the George Floyd image. Oh, yes. The day after George Floyd's death, we received this in our UTLA email that we get.
The day
right?
after his death.
The day
you.
after. this
Right.
art piece was ready to go, and so was this statement.
And what's it say there, Jane?
Justice for our communities.
Mm-hmm.
Another week, another unconscionable murder of a black man, George Floyd. As communities of color die at higher rates from COVID-19 and black people die at the hands of police. I need my own copy here.
They had that ready the day
Yeah.
after?
And
Yeah.
as you can tell by the language, it's completely politically neutral.
Oh, yeah. And others, R.I.P. Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery. We grapple every day with the fallout of systemic racism. Our fight for social and racial justice defines UTLA as a progressive union. The only way forward is for oppression and white supremacy to be acknowledged and eradicated.
Eradicated.
The fight.
I also want to point out that for somebody who's a complete layman on all this stuff, it almost seems to me that every time a black person is killed at the hands of police, whether justified or not justified, this becomes a rallying cry, and they're using it as political power. So while people in the Black Lives Matter movement who aren't so politically active may look at this, and people in the broader society may look at it and go, look, this is horrible, and we need to do something about this. It almost seems like these people are rubbing their hands together and going, this is exactly what we needed. You know, it's malevolent to the point of being ridiculous. Like it's something you would see in as a Disney villain. It's that bad.
Absolutely. Did you see that? I mean,
Yeah.
suddenly white supremacy is what literally the union needs to eradicate.
The teachers union should be responsible for eradicating white supremacy.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, I'd like to point out that 8% of the students in LAUSD are black.
8%.
8?
8%.
Yeah, I think it would. I mean, judging by the demographics, I would assume it's probably majority Hispanic, and probably
It is,
not majority
72%.
English-speaking Hispanic as well.
72% Hispanic.
Right. Okay.
8% black.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so now I think the piece de resistance. Can we have the video, which is number 7 of Cecily Meyer Cruz in 2019 at the Democratic Socialist Convention, clearly stating her goals.
Yeah.
This is before the George
brothers
Floyd.
and non-binary siblings. My name is
Oh, no, we
Cecily
can't hear
Meyer
it.
Cruz, and I am United Teachers Los Angeles NEA Vice President.
I'm gonna
And I'm
cry.
humbled by the
can't hear it?
invitation to share with you tonight.
Pause it, Dick. Are you saying you can't hear it?
I can't hear it.
Because I'm pretty sure the audience can hear it.
I'm sorry for talking over it then.
No, you're
that's
good.
okay. I want to make sure it's working.
Can we check the chat and see if
Yeah,
it-
check chat it. Are you able to hear the audio from the video?
Here, how about now? Hold on.
Let's try it again.
All right.
Sorry.
Good evening, sisters, brothers, and non-binary siblings. My name is Cecily Meyer Cruz, and I am United Teachers Los Angeles NEA Vice President.
I already hate her. But Jane, you're not able to hear that?
Really?
It should be coming in with the chat, though. Let me check the chat.
Yep, chat can hear it.
Okay.
I'm fine with that. I've heard it.
Yeah,
several
you know
times.
what it is. All right, let's
know what
go
you're
ahead
saying.
and we'll play it, and we'll talk about it when it's over. But guys, pay special attention to this because it's mind blowing.
It's-
And I'm humbled by the invitation to share with you tonight. For as long as I can remember,
What
I have
asshole's
been
working
an
the camera?
organizer and an activist. Whether it was in 11th grade, as a student in 1989, jumping the fence to walk with my striking teachers, leading paraprofessionals to organize and demand our duty-free break, as a first-year teacher in Compton, organizing a sit-in at the district so that we could get paid, or in January, striking with 35,000 of my closest colleagues. A strike that continues to reverberate throughout the nation. Our strike did not happen overnight. It took 4 years to build structures, to test those structures, to refine, retool, reassess, and repeat. But let's go back. In 2011, progressive-minded folks passed a resolution called the Schools Los Angeles Students Deserved. It was shelved by our former president of the union. We assessed the terrain of our union and how to take it over. And in 2014, we were elected, and we used the Schools Los Angeles Students Deserve as an umbrella of what was needed. We needed to change our union from being a service model to an organizing one. That meant we needed to hire an executive director, a research and analytics director, a communications director, a field and organizing director, a political director, and regional organizers. That was a lot. But we needed that. We needed all of these positions to enact a change that our union needed and deserved.
All right, so I want you to think about what she just said and some of the language that she used. She used the word folks. She used non-binary language. And she was talking like a black preacher. So what you're seeing is kind of the manifestation of this is an Alinskyite. This is a Marxist. This is a person who's using this kind of the narrative of grassroots of taking the working class and having it take on the bourgeoisie. And she's this woman who was labeled the vice president of the teachers union at this point went on, and we're going to talk about this in a second, to become the president of the teachers unions in LA. So this woman. This is the kind of thing you would hear at a protest, at a rally for BLM. It's the exact kind of language, the exact same kind of tone, and the same kind of tenor. And this woman is the president of the teachers unions in LA. So let's talk about that.
I mean, it just floored me when I saw this.
Me too.
And then when I started to put that together with what had happened with the strike, and how that had all been orchestrated, it really started to make sense to me that this whole socialist push is now what UTLA is about. It's not about teachers' salaries. It's not about protecting teachers.
Right.
It's about, racial justice and this whole social agenda.
Which, by the way, is not about, like you said, it's not about helping teachers. It's not about helping kids. It's about nothing else but becoming a more powerful power center.
That's right.
It's about the culmination and the coagulation of power for something that on its face is supposed to be about making teachers' lives easier and making it easier to educate students.
Yeah. So we're wondering what they spend their $32 million a year on. She just told us.
Right.
Ugh.
Right. On it, and who was it?
$32 million of taxpayer funding?
No, $32 million just of us.
Oh, from the teachers' paychecks.
Yeah, that's just from the teachers' paychecks.
Wow.
They also get from outside of that. That's just what they get from teachers.
That's not counting the, what is it, millions or billions of taxpayer dollars?
Billions.
Billions.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So if we could move, Dick, to slide 8, the UTLA, there will be struggle.
Dick, slide to 8.
Thank you.
Sorry, I just wanted to say Dick, slide to 8.
That's what she said. Okay, that was inappropriate. All right. So we get this. This is when she was still, this is after George Floyd's death, but before she became the president. She became president this past July 1st. So this comes out, and she's really talking about the violence and police terror against Black people that have always been a part of American society are in sharp relief. The movements in support of Black Lives Matter that have surged and emerged are powerful. The police reaction to them, Trump's reaction to them, and frankly, too many white people's reaction to them are terrifying.
You got that, white people? We don't like your reaction to stuff.
Hello? So yeah, and she even mentions, this is very eerie, that this week especially educators felt acutely the loss of our physical classroom communities. The chance in these moments to close the door, throw away the day's lesson, and just talk with our students face to face. In other words, you know, throw out any real educational opportunity going on and discuss this, because this social justice is what's important. At the bottom, you can see the UTLA statement says, as long as Black people can't breathe, we can't rest. So she's revving up. If we could move, Dick, to slide 9. Okay, and so
Slide
excellent.
9.
So the incoming president of the UTLA has made racial justice her mission. She says educators have a critical role to play in dismantling racism in our communities. During a June 8th press conference with Black Lives Matter LA, she announced the union's board of directors voted 35-2 to support cutting funds to the Los Angeles School Police Department and redirecting those resources to social services programs in the district. Notice she said cutting funds, so kind of like reducing the funds.
Yeah, but these are the same people who spend, have spent the last, I don't know, 10 years, 12 years screaming about school shootings, screaming about how guns are the reasons for school shootings, but they don't want police on campus. And now this lady is saying, you said, I think the language, her mission is racial justice. Her mission isn't to empower teachers. Her mission's not to make students, again, this is the teachers union, these are people who are supposed to be in charge of our children's future, not to better educate children or to better protect teachers. It's about racial justice, and her first bullet point here is defunding school police. I want you to let that sink in, because it's horrific.
And she goes on to say, we should be, meaning everyone in the school district, all of the teachers, anyone associated with this, we should be promoting Black Lives Matter. It doesn't mean that other people's lives don't matter, but that when you fix things for Black people, you fix them for everyone. All right. So then soon after, because she's just squeaked into the presidency.
Right.
Very soon after, within a week, Dick, if we could please move to slide 10. Now we start seeing rhetoric about why there's a movement to eliminate school police entirely. So suddenly it went from, let's take some of their funds away, to eliminating them entirely. So I have to say that even though this is a release that went out, as teachers, we knew that the union was backing BLM, and we knew that they wanted to kind of reduce funds for school police and put that towards more counselors and stuff. But this whole thing about eliminating school police came up fast and furious, and we weren't super aware of it. But in this paper it says, in Portland public schools and in Minneapolis, they no longer have police patrolling the halls. So we're going to follow them. And this week, the UTLA Board of Directors, 4 of them, right? Oh, no, this is the UTLA Board of Directors, sorry, overwhelmingly endorsed a call to eliminate the LA school police budget. So within weeks of being the president, a lot of people say change is slow, things are going to happen really slow. No, within weeks, she had eliminated the school police in Los Angeles Unified School District.
She's being about as subtle as a train wreck with these changes. Jeez.
And it goes on to say research shows that having police in schools has a negative impact on student learning and makes kids feel unsafe. And it says here, check these research points. So Dick, if we could move to slide 11.
Yep.
So here, I wanted to show this, that they actually did list studies that kind of back up what they're saying.
Okay.
But in one of them it says, Black students make up 8% of LAUSD's student population, but are 25% of LA school police arrests. If any of us have listened to Vincent
That's
James,
clearly the police's fault.
right.
Okay.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, and then it says the presence of school police does not stop school shootings. Bowling Green University, 2020. Okay, I don't think anybody is thinking that school police is going to stop school shootings, but let me ask you this. If there are armed policemen on a campus, do you think we're going to deal with a school shooting better? I do.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I'm sorry. So to me, that's like showing information that's misleading. And then the last one really gets me. Schools are less safe with school police. Students of color feel more unsafe, and students are less likely to confide in adults. They feel unsafe because when they're carrying guns and drugs, they're afraid of being incarcerated because of it. Right. So, Dick, can we go to slide 12?
Yeah. Let's see.
This is more about the facts that they wanted us to know that are backing up their reasons for eliminating school police. So what are the alternatives, they say? Well, instead of calling police when a fight starts, your school has trained campus aides, hired from the community and respected by students who come quickly. The fight is broken up and students get support. When a student is disruptive, instead of calling the police, you text a number, and an unarmed HHS urgent responder, trained in de-escalation, comes within 5 minutes to help. The student is safe and supported. When a student is experiencing a mental health crisis, instead of calling school police, a first responder trained in mental health comes quickly. 1 hour later, the student is in a safe place with plans for follow-up. And finally, this one really gets me. When a student is selling drugs, the student is connected to a specialist to stop it and to link the student to programs on substance abuse and jobs.
Man, I wish we had that. I wish we had that Michael Jordan slide of Michael Jordan for the McDonald's commercial going, "Stop it, get some help."
I was just saying, when I was selling drugs in school and got in trouble, I wish I had that instead of, getting in trouble. That would have been nice.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I just want to point out, I don't know a lot about the black community, but I will say that as a former drug selling gun toter, and also knowing a little bit about the black community, I'm not going to lie, I don't believe that young black males especially respect calm people who walk in and go, "Hey guys, knock it off." I think that what they respect is authority, and maybe they don't respect it enough. But I think that's the kind of thing we should be instilling in especially in high schools, that you should be respecting authority, and that when people come in, especially police officers, it's just this is further.
I keep moving that mic, and you keep moving forward.
Okay, it's just further breaking down. The fact that they don't have fathers, that they're not getting the authority they need at home, and that it's being continuously broken down at schools.
Here's the other point about that. So you see how touchy-feely and beautiful that all sounds?
No.
Right? Well, okay. It's supposed to sound like this will solve all your problems, okay? Here's the deal. They eliminated school police. This has not been created. They are now meeting to talk with communities about maybe where the money would come from for this and who these people would be. But this is not in place. So thank goodness we're actually not in school right now, because these things don't actually exist.
Right.
It's just what could happen in a perfect world.
Yeah, it's in limbo.
So, yeah. Then the final thing on this fact sheet is the $70 million that the LA School Police budget, gives them, literally will cover 130 psychiatric social workers, 130 academic counselors, 130 school psychologists, 130 additional pupil services and attendance counselors, 130 campus aides, and this is key, an investment in 10 additional schools to be transformed into community schools. I want to talk about that in a second.
Now, are all those 130s, are those the same people? Like, these are just really very qualified people that are really good at all those things, or?
These are no, right? Maybe, I don't know. But the point is that there are 1,000 schools in LAUSD.
Right. It's not. It's still not enough.
It's a drop in the bucket.
If this is the route they want to go down, that they want to take away police officers or people or school police who are trained to deal with this kind of stuff, and they want to move it over towards kind of the mental health side of things, the touchy-feely stuff, as you said. It's still nowhere near enough to deal with this issue.
Not enough.
Okay.
So then
Good to
you
know.
still have kids who are left without any recourse. You have teachers who are dealing with violent kids in their classroom without any recourse. Nothing's going to be done about it. All right. So then let's talk about this little community school thing. So there's a big push in the district for community schools. It sounds so lovely, but what it really is, a community school has the teachers volunteer 15 to 20 more hours a week to stay after school, to tutor students, to train parents, and to run after-school programs.
Volunteer.
Yes, they get paid no more.
Already overworked teachers who are trying to go on strike to get more money in order to
Yeah.
get better conditions are now being asked to volunteer.
If
their
we
time.
became a community school, which our principal really wants us to be, we would have to stay until 7, 4 nights a week to serve.
Isn't that, wait a minute. Isn't that the opposite of what a union's supposed to do? Isn't a union, like the entire inception of a union was to get better pay for teachers?
Yeah.
Or for whatever field they were in. And now they're basically asking you to work for free, which seems like the polar opposite of what they're supposed to be doing.
But they're making it seem like if you're a community school, you are setting the example and you are really caring about your community. So it's like it's a privilege to be a community school. Not only that, but if you're a community school, you have to hire a community school rep who kind of runs the whole thing.
Right. How much is that salary?
$120,000 a year.
Of course. Do you mind if I ask you what the ballpark salary is for you?
More than 70,000.
More than 70. That's actually super surprising to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been with the district for 20 years. So even when I
Wow.
was a sub, I was accruing seniority. And also I have more schooling than a lot of people. I didn't realize it, but when I was going to community colleges and taking a bunch of courses in health and child development and things like this, so the more
And all that adds to all those accreditations add to your salary.
Yep.
Well, that makes sense. That's still kind of merit based. Do you think that's do you think that's average across the state?
If you were to, I don't know if about across the state, but for LAUSD, my salary is about average. In other words, I'm right in the middle.
Okay.
You can make up to it's 99,000 a year, and that's a teacher who's.
What are you complaining about? Why are we even doing this show? 99 grand a year. Come on, end the show, Dick. I'm done with this.
Give him a couple hours. What's it gonna hurt? Come on.
But that's if you've been teaching for 20 years. And you have accrued the maximum amount of, basically you have a you have a PhD in education. So you have the equivalent of schooling of a PhD, and you've served in the district for 20 years, then you can be making 99,000.
But you're not able to do what you want to do with it. You're not able to use the stuff you learned in order to be a better teacher. And then also at the same time, you're having to deal with them trying to phase you out.
Yeah.
Oh, this is ridiculous, man. My blood is boiling. It boiled a lot during the last show, and it's boiling just as much now. I cannot believe the sad, sorry state of education. This is just ridiculous. Go on.
So that
I was
community
just kidding,
school rep-
obviously. I think you deserve what you get paid. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right.
So the community school rep is paid for by the district for the first year. After that, that $120,000 has to come out of the school's budget.
Right.
That's a huge amount of money. Every year we don't have enough money to hire aides, so that last year I didn't have an aide. Me and the other upper grade teacher did not have an aide because we didn't have enough to go around. So we can't hire aides, but they're going to pay a community school rep. Also, if you're a community school, it means on campus you have a medical center, and you also have a food bank. In my neighborhood, there is a medical center, a free medical center 2 blocks away, and there's a food bank around the corner.
So completely superfluous crap that you don't
Absolutely.
need.
And not only that, but everyone in the community has access to those 2 places. So in a certain way, they would be allowed to come onto campus,
Okay.
which is sketchy. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
community schools. It sounds lovely, but no. All right. So could we move on to slide 13, Dick? Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, I was ahead of
So
you.
the action for the common good. It's all about taking money away from the rich people and investing in our communities.
Where have I heard that before? What a novel idea.
Huh.
They must have read Robin Hood. They've clearly never read Saul Alinsky or the Communist Manifesto. This is all Robin Hood.
Absolutely.
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Hey, why does that drawing on the right look like a multiracial Hillary Clinton?
You really called it. I think you did. Yeah, lovely.
Something's
Huh?
off.
And then, Dick, if we could move to slide 14.
I wasn't ahead on that one. Here
We're
we
going to
go.
give him carpal tunnel here.
I'm sorry, love. Now, this is, okay, so this is when things started getting fishy. This is the middle of the summer. We're, of course, being threatened with the fact that we're probably not going back to school in August, and we're going to be doing online learning. And all of us teachers are on the edge of our seats wanting to know what's going to happen. Is it going to be half in the school, half online? What's going to go on, right?
Right.
So I see this article. It pops up. I don't know where I found it. And it's in a very little known paper called Just the News. So it says that LA Teachers Union says schools can't reopen unless charter schools get shut down and police is defunded. And
Wait.
what?
Okay.
Like,
All right.
what does this have to do with schools reopening? Like, I get it that the, UTLA is all about this. So I write my union rep for the school, and I ask her, is this article accurate? Is the union literally calling for defunding the police and a federal Medicare for all, and shuttering charter schools before we go back to school? And here's the response I got. I don't want to show it just in case. Yeah. Careful what you read. If we were to take that stand, we would definitely make a statement. Sounds like charter school chatter. Defunding the police was something that UTLA supported through Students Deserve, which Cecily mentioned in her video, toward the end of the protest. Then the board devoted to redirect a good chunk of school police funding for counselors and mental health. Our charter school position is the same. Well,
But you have it in black and white.
This
You
is
have
false.
you have
I've
the
already
opposite of
shown
that
you.
in black and white.
I've already shown you. They eliminated the school police. That happened at the same time. So my UTLA rep is saying, "Oh no, that's false. That's fake news, honey." Watch
Do you
what
think
you're-"
that's him intentionally misleading you, knowing the truth, or do you think he was misinformed? Like, what's your personal take on that?
I have to say, it's only my personal take.
Mm-hmm.
I think they just didn't know. I think he didn't know.
Intentionally, like on purpose.
I think he was kept out of the loop. I think
Right,
that's the
because
possibility.
he's answering to you at the end of the day.
Yeah,
And they don't
So-
want you to know this.
that's right.
Okay. Wow.
So I don't think my union rep, the person who works at my school, I don't think he's lying to me. I think he doesn't know. I think he thinks it's fake news.
I'm also really shocked at the way that they're using charter schools as a pejorative. That's charter school chatter.
Yeah.
That's also pretty disheartening to hear, because I'm a huge proponent of charter schools. So I think that's it's like saying, well, that's far right. That's charter
Yes.
school chatter. It's the same kind
Yes.
of propaganda tool.
So then this article actually linked a paper. It says that the district made these demands in a policy paper it released this week. I actually didn't look this up until recently. So, Dick, if we could go to slide 15. And I'm just showing you this front page to see, it's called The Same Storm But Different Boats, The Safe and Equitable Conditions for Starting LAUSD in 2020-21. This was not sent to us in an email. This was not presented to us in any way. And it goes on and on and on. And it seems to be talking about, why it's unsafe to go back to school with COVID.
Right.
And the fact that we have, 80% of our population are people of color.
And that first bullet point is trying to turn the virus into a racial issue, the color of COVID.
Yep.
Okay.
That just lets you know. Okay, then, Dick, if we could go to slide 16. So we slide all the way to page 10, and here it is. These are the conditions. This must be met before the union is going to say it's okay for students to go back into the classroom. Federal bailout, right, has to do with the HEROES Act for providing funding for K-12, and not just a little. You know, $1 billion in general fund transfers, and at least $500 billion in additional federal assistance this year, just this year. Also, if you slide down to number 4, Medicare for all. Yeah, Medicare for all.
Wow.
Before we let kids go back to school.
Wow.
Okay? Then it gets worse. So, Dick, if we could move to slide 17. Here it is. Local support, defund the police, charter moratorium, and financial support for undocumented students. So here it is, to defund the police. Before we can open up schools again, we have to defund the police. Privately operated, publicly funded charter schools drain the resources from district schools, and they should have their hands slapped.
So do you think that it's a coincidence that the LA teachers unions have essentially stolen their demands from BLM?
No.
Yeah, me either. Like that's unbelievable. You could put the list of demands side by side. They'd be essentially the same. I know BLM has more Afrocentric stuff in it, but this is essentially a DSA, a Democratic Socialist message being put into the teachers unions and then being used as a cudgel, saying we're not going to reopen schools until you make this platform a reality.
That's right.
This is so unbelievable. I want to urge people to find alternatives for your kids. And I know this is kind of going against your job and stuff, but in my opinion, I think you should find alternatives. I think you should look into homeschool. I think you should look into charter school, because I think the saying is, as goes California, as goes the country, or something to that effect. And if this is what's happening in our most liberal state, you can bet your butt that it's going to be happening in other liberal states, and it's going to continue to happen in the rest of the country as teachers unions across the country gain more power and start working together, and kind of it's a power conglomerate. It's horrific. I hate to see it.
So then, just a few weeks later, the same thing I read in the article, and then that was backed up by that UTLA paper, ended up on the news in San Diego. Interestingly enough, you didn't see it anywhere in Los Angeles. So I know we're running tight. Do you want to run that little clip? It's just like a minute. It's number 18.
Yeah, and I think, what time does Shoutcast go on? Or do they go on tonight?
I don't think they go on tonight.
I think we've got a little bit of time. We can go a little bit over. It's not a big deal. I think we got BlackVill'd coming on eventually, but we got some time. So let's make it happen.
Nice. Okay. So
Angeles, one of the largest teachers unions in the state, the United Teachers of Los Angeles, is saying that public schools should not reopen unless their demands are met. And the demands include implementing a moratorium on private schools, defunding police, increasing taxes on the wealthy, implementing Medicare for all, and having the HEROES Act passed, which allocates an additional $116 billion in federal education funding to states. The teachers union says that these policies should be implemented on a state and national level before schools are reopened.
Ooh. That was on the news.
The end of that clip? The end of the clip said we should defund teachers unions. So, I liked that. It had nothing to do with the newscast. So there wasn't a newscast. So then I sent that to my union rep and said, hey, you want to check this out?
Right.
What happened after that is he constructed a letter to everyone in our school saying you need to watch out for rumors and fake news. There's a lot of stuff going around right now. Make sure you get your facts from me and other union reps, and don't believe this kind of hocus pocus stuff that's going around on the outside. So I texted him back and said, hey, just to clarify, I have no opinion. I'm not spreading rumors. I just, wanted to make sure that we're aware of what's out there. And if false things are being published, then broadcast, then I think it's good for everyone to know. And he wrote back, as far as rumors, I wasn't referring to you. UTLA has been warning members of the countless false reports in the media they're asking us to reiterate to our chapters to look for credible union info, which is bullshit. It's
Right.
absolutely real.
Right.
It's in a release that UTLA wrote.
Man.
This is dark shit, man.
Yeah.
And so let's move to, oh, good, I do have that one. So slide 19, please. I don't have it in front of me, but I did leave it in the, yeah, here we go. So just like she got the school police eradicated instantly, now there is legislation that was passed this summer that says it gives school districts more power to reject petitions for new charters or charters that want to expand by allowing the district to consider whether the charter, meaning charter school, will serve the interests of the community.
According to who? According to the unions.
According to the district, which is also the union.
Right.
Yeah. So now the district can decide, right?
What the district can decide what's beneficial to the community.
To the community.
Right. This is on. So where are parents in all this? Are they being talked to about this stuff? Like, this has been the question in the back of my mind this whole time. Like, what do parents think about any of this shit, or do they even know about it?
They don't, which is why I feel really strong about talking about it. I was going to start writing about it. You've given me the most amazing opportunity to talk about it first, and I really, really appreciate that. Nobody's telling the parents about this. It just happens, and then they're the last to know. How is that possible? And it's wrong.
Well, why aren't parents more aware of what's going? Shouldn't they be, a little more? What's the word I'm looking for? Shouldn't they
Informed?
be not informed, but involved?
Involved is good too. I like that as well. It's another good I word.
It's where you're sending your kids. How are you not paying more attention to this shit?
This is all happening under the cover of darkness.
Hey, your kid goes to a public school, man. Like,
But when somebody says, "Well, what about this news clip?" They go, "It's fucking charter school chatter."
Yeah.
Charter school chatter.
You know those wicked charter schools? They're just they're trying to bum us out with all this fake news. Good Lord.
Right. All right, Dick. If we could move to slide 20.
All right, pulling it up now.
And this
is.
photo of Cecily really says so much. Check her T-shirt. Can you give us a close-up on her T-shirt and her?
Yeah, getting that
On her
right
mug.
now.
Yeah.
This dog.
There we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, the president of the LA Teachers Unions.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep, there she is. So this is very interesting. There's been a big push for, first of all, students with special ed students with special needs, right? They are not being served by this online Zoom teaching.
Oh,
And there are
of course
also
not.
students who are really far behind, for example, in reading, especially the youngest students. And so there's a push to get teachers tested and have some on-campus time, some one-on-one services for students who are disabled or learning English, right?
Right.
But she was against that.
But hold on. How can she be against that? It seems as though it might be beneficial for the community. No?
Right? Oh. But yet, yeah, she was against that and wanted it blocked immediately. She didn't want anybody back on campus. I'm happy to say she lost on that one. And there are now teachers who have been tested and who've passed through all the hoops. And there are some one-on-one situations going on campuses where teachers are helping students learn how to read, helping them learn English, and working with some of the special ed students. So finally, there was a small loss for her.
That's good to hear.
Yep. Then just kind of to segue a little bit, some things that happened in my classroom recently. First of all, before the election, one of my students piped up, and I work in lower elementary, they're super young. She piped up and said, "My parents are voting for Biden because he's for BLM."
And this was a Hispanic student? Or
Yes.
a black student?
It's
Oh,
a Hispanic
student.
student.
Okay.
Yep. And so I said, oh, thank you, that's nice, because I'm not going to give, my side of it, but she knows enough about her family's stance to stand up to that. And then just the other day, and this was tough for me, man, if I hadn't had an aide and a special ed assistant in the classroom, I would have gone into a talk, even with these lower elementary school kids, about the electoral vote and college. But I decided to just bite my tongue. So a student pipes up out of the blue, and he's like, Miss Taylor, I have a present for you. Biden won. Biden is the president.
And you immediately smacked him in the mouth.
Well, we're on Zoom.
Oh.
Say, give this to your dad.
Yeah.
Or your mom.
So
Whoever.
I bit my tongue until it bled. And like I said, if there weren't other adults in the room, I would have said, actually, we won't know who the new president is until the electoral votes have been cast. And the first time that could happen would be December 10th.
Right.
If there's no contesting, December 13th, if there is a contesting. And
But why would you want to, what's it called, educate them on civics, of all things?
Because I actually feel like that's important.
Yeah, we all do.
I'm really big on the Pledge of Allegiance, and my lower elementary school students are like, they can say the pledge like a boss. They know how to lead it. They know how to tell people to stand and face the flag respectfully. Thank you very much. And they phrase it appropriately. And then not only that, but I teach even the youngest of my students what it means, phrase by phrase. And I tell them that they should never, ever, ever recite anything that they don't know what it means.
Right. Good for you.
So, yeah.
Good
Thank
for you.
So, and it goes on. We're not going to share more, but so the union is big on backing Biden and keeping an eye on the presidential race, including any attempts by Trump and his enablers to undermine the election by filing legal challenges to stop the vote count and declaring victory before all the ballots are counted in critical swing states across the country. This was released Saturday, November 7th. No, this was released before the election. So they're already predicting.
Wait, what? Wait a minute. What? Before the election?
Yeah, this is Tuesday night election update. Sorry, this is Tuesday night.
Okay. All right.
This is the day of the election. And they say, keeping a tight eye on the presidential race, including any attempts by Trump and his enablers to undermine the election by filing legal challenges to stop the vote count and declaring victory before all the ballots are counted in critical swing states across the country.
Wow.
The night of the election. And also, and there was a march for that. And then also another march, demand democracy and a peaceful transfer of power.
And when the first time we talked, you shared a text message with me, and I don't know if you're comfortable sharing the contents of that. That was essentially another, I don't know if it was somebody from your union or another teacher saying essentially, hey, let's go out and march, let's rally for this political cause. And I think you said you got to use COVID as an excuse, which is good, but I just wonder how pressured do you feel to do that kind of stuff. And this is one of the main takeaways I've gotten tonight, is that for teachers who want to stand up to this stuff, they risk being a complete and total social pariah from everybody they work with. They risk not being able to move to another place and be a teacher somewhere else where rules might be a little more lax, because this reputation is going to follow them basically wherever they go. And and you can also, like, let's say somebody is upset that you're fighting back and they send an image of quote unquote CP, of child porn,
Yep.
and then ruin your life.
Yes.
And this is the problem with communism. This is a problem with nationalization. This is a problem with any kind of concentration of power. Is that I'm right wing, but I also happen to also care about the working class and about blue collar folk. And I just think that anytime you have these huge conglomerations of power, who ends up getting hurt are the citizens and the people, the blue collar people who were there to help the citizens, or the people who are blue collar folks who are citizens, who are making their living doing this kind of stuff. And you're fighting against this giant dragon that's growing more and more powerful every day. And now this dragon has a political ideology. You know what I mean?
That's right.
It's really disheartening. I am really grateful for you being here and for you being my second guest on the show. It's been a big boon for me, and I know I appreciate that you're so happy about being able to share all this stuff here tonight. I don't want to do an abrupt ending because everybody keeps yelling at me about that.
Oh, I have an ending. Can we end with
let's do it.
one of my students saying the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure.
Okay. So
How
let
do we
me know
do
if
that?
it works and if people can hear it. Okay?
Oh, okay. You have it? All right. Go ahead.
Ready to go.
Raise the flag respectfully. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Beautiful.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. I know you're doing what you can, Jane. I know it's really hard to fight back, but I really, I just can't stress how much I appreciate you coming on and exposing this stuff.
Thank you, and exposing this dog-faced nightmare.
Dog-faced nightmare.
The face of evil.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, imagine waking up to that.
Take a good gander at that.
Ugh.
And that's the problem
how she
with
posed for the portrait.
that's the problem with overweight, angry boomer women, is that they don't have any love in their life, and what they do is they lash out. They're just lashing out all the time. I don't know. I'm just kidding. I do want to say to my audience, thank you everybody who followed tonight. I really, really appreciate that. To the donations, I appreciate that as well. All donations on this show go to my my baby fund. I'm going to be a father in the next couple of days or weeks. Who knows?
His woman's ready to pop.
Could
He
be
needs the
anytime.
money.
Could
Diapers
be anytime.
are expensive.
Diapers are expensive. And also, I've got to figure out how to not send my son to public school. So
Thank you.
stay tuned next week. Next week, I'm going to be doing an interview with Saint Mark, who is, or Saint Mac. He's got a weird accent, so when he says Mac, I think he means Mark. You know how those Northerners are. We're going to be diving into Q. I don't know what it means. I don't know anything about Q. I know it's like a thing, and like people believe it, but that could be anything. So we're going to be diving into Q. We're going to be diving into kind of a lot of the evidence that Vil is looking for with all the voter stuff. He sent me a lot of stuff that's really kind of mind-blowing, and I want to share that with you. So next week, stay tuned. Same time, same channel, Friday night, 7:30 Central. Wagyu Works. It's a working title.
I like chewing the beef. Or chewing the fat with
Chewing
Wagyu.
the fat. What do you think, Jane? Do you think Wagyu Works is a good title?
I don't like chewing the fat.
I don't either.
I would.
That's what we did for
I'm
the
in
last
the middle.
hour.
We did chew the fat. Look, there's a case to be made for both sides.
Look at all the fat.
I-
Look at this. Look at this.
That is quite a bit of fat.
Eat it up.
Oh my God.
And hey, I just
You're
wanna pause
you're
and
making
thank-
my case, not your case. You know that.
That's true. I just want to thank anyone who was a friend of mine who came to watch the show. Thank you
Oh,
so much
absolutely.
for tuning in. But don't make this your only time. If you liked what was going on here, this was all because of him inviting me. And there's going to be more of the same. So tune in next week. And thank you all so much for joining.
Thanks, everybody. And there's still no outro for the show, but we're going to roll the Thunderdome TV one.
God bless you. Stay tuned for Night Court.
All right.
Big thanks to Vil Nomerly for playing audio
Bill
engineer
Nomerly.
today.
Yeah, did a great job. He also echoed a lot of our stuff on Parlor
Yeah.
and shared the links around. Good stuff. Good stuff.